Hey everyone, this is John. Welcome back to another Level Up tutorial. In this short video, I will walk through how to use the Power Earnings Gap Screener inside of TradingView. Let's start with an overview. So what is a Power Earnings Gap? A Power Earnings Gap occurs after a company releases a strong earnings report that beats market expectations. The ideal Power Earnings Gap setup usually features a large price gap, 8 to 10% or more, extremely high trading volume, often as high as 2 to 5 times that daily average. This indicates institutional participation. A Power Earnings Gap generally has a price breakout to a new high. There's frequently a positive earnings surprise associated with a Power Earnings Gap. And we also look for a strong closing candle, which reinforces the idea that there's sustained buying pressure throughout the day. Let's go ahead and get started. The first step is to favorite the Power Earnings Gap Screener. So if we go into the indicators, scroll down to invite only, and we're looking for this indicator right here, the LevelUp moving average alignment in Power Earnings Gap Screener. And we want to make sure to select that star right there. That will add it to a favorite. Once we do that, we can now head over to the Pine Screener. We want to select a watch list. In this case, I'm going to choose the S&P 500. The next step is to go into the settings. And in the settings, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see a list of parameters that we can configure as it relates to searching for Power Earnings Gaps. We can search back anywhere from 1 bar or 1 day all the way back to 90 days. So up to 3 quarters historically, we can look for Power Earnings Gaps. We need to specify a minimum price gap that we're looking for. The default is 10%. And the default minimum percent change in volume is 100%. I think it's helpful to look for a positive earnings surprise. I will generally turn this on and specify at least 1% change. And I like to require a closing range so that we know the price didn't close at the bottom of the bar. The next step is to click on the Power Earnings Gap, turn that on, hit the scan button, and now you'll see we have 10 results that met those criteria. Here's what I like to do. I like to mark this list. So I select all of them. I right click, I choose a flag. And in that case, I chose the blue flag. So now when I go over to a chart, what I can do is pull up a list right here. This is a list. You can see the 10 symbols. So that's the blue flagged list. And from there, I can select and view the different results from that Power Earnings Gap screen. Couple of things I'd like to point out here. We can see previous Power Earnings Gap started right here. We'll notice it's a green shaded bar. This bar represents the low of the Power Earnings Gap day. And notice how after this Power Earnings Gap, the stock just continued up very nicely. Here's a more recent Power Earnings Gap right here. And you can see that the price is finding support right at the low of the bar for the Power Earnings Gap. That's all it takes to get started with the Power Earnings Gap Screener. I hope you found this helpful, and we'll see you in the next video.